Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you enjoyed last week's video. If you didn't watch it, you can find it below. What I did want to talk about this week, because last week was kind of just like an update, what's going on, and really kind of got deep into like the negative things that can happen to us. So really wanted to take a 180 on that. And talk about the positive. So like, what about celebration, right? How do we handle celebration in our lives, and how we can truly use celebration as something that propels us to the next level. So we were in book club the other day, and we were just talking about how we end up kind of holding ourselves back and just constantly talking about like, how do I get better, right? Like, we of course all want to get better, and like there's this giant, industry of personal development, which I love and I'm kind of hoping to do through this medium. But there's also this other area of our lives that we don't use to actually favor our personal development, which is celebrating our wins. Like, we're constantly like, well, how do I get to the next level? And how do I get to the next level? And it's just like, well, what about the level that you're at right now? Like, what about celebrating where you're at right now? Rachel Hollis said it really awesomely in her book, where she said, be kind to yourself she said, treat yourself with kindness, but challenge yourself to get better. So we, again, are constantly talking about this get better piece, but I feel like the kindness piece can sometimes be missing. We're constantly thinking about like, oh, well, I am just not smart enough, and I'm not young enough, I'm not old enough, I don't have enough education, or whatever it is that your enough statement is. This like feeling of like enough ends up kind of interfering with our ability to celebrate and to really, use our current achievements to help us to get to that next level. So a lot of the times, like I said, we kind of get stuck in this like comparison trap, or get stuck in the like, well, I did this, but it wasn't like as good as that. And I feel like I kind of do feel that a lot myself, because you feel some shame sometimes in your wins, right? You feel shame in what you've accomplished. So let me give you a perfect example. So 3 years ago, I started running, and I was not a runner at all. I would struggle just like 1 minute, like on the treadmill. All right, baby girl, you cannot do this. If you want to learn how to kind of start jumping into your running, I have a great post about it on my blog. I'll link it below. There's some pretty good tips on how to become a runner. But the point is, I was not a runner at all. And then I did it. I set a goal to complete a half marathon. So I set a goal to complete a half marathon. I was doing this with my friend, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do a half marathon with you. I complete my half marathon. The time was like pretty outrageous. Like, I don't even remember. It was a long time. And I was just so happy that I completed a half marathon, right? Like, you think like, of course, from somebody who went from like 0 to 100, like 0 running to like became a half marathon runner, like that's awesome. So I go on, I'm sharing, I'm talking about like how wonderful it is. And I'm like, well, maybe I should do another one. So I started doing some research, and then again, I'm talking to more people about what I did. And then slowly, this thing that was so awesome, like I was celebrating, I was like so happy about it, starts getting diminished by my mindset of, oh, it's not enough, right? Like, that time wasn't enough. It really sucked. I didn't place in my category. It's not even a full marathon, so I really shouldn't be celebrating. It was all flat ground, so it wasn't even like really like challenging marathon, and then ultimately, like, all I can think about is just like how this accomplishment, how this celebration, how something I was super proud of ends up getting diminished by just this like, it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough. Luckily, I caught myself when I was doing that, right? So about a month after my first half marathon, there was another opportunity to run actually the rock and roll half marathon that just came up recently. And they're like, hey, there's a free bib. Do you want the free bib? You can go run it. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I think I'm gonna run it. Like I want to use all of this hard work that I've put towards completing this half marathon. And now I'm gonna use this to complete this next half marathon, and it's gonna be so awesome. So I then did that next half marathon. I did the rock and roll half marathon, and I completed 10 minutes faster than my previous half marathon. And it was just such an awesome feeling. Like it was just like, yeah, like this is super awesome. Like this is why I was hyped at the beginning. Like I had completed something that was so awesome. And then I was able to use like that excitement to kind of as a little trampoline to jump me to kind of the next level, which was improving my time. And although, you know, I almost got caught in the like, well, it's not enough and it's not this and it's not that, I was like, you know what, well, this is the best that I'm gonna get, right? For myself. And so continuing to kind of practice that on the day-to-day basis, like those small celebrations really, really go a long way. You could even use that like in a business sense, right? So you're starting a new business and you're like, okay, I have no clients. And you're like, okay, how am I gonna get my first client? And then you're super excited that you get your first client. And then you're super excited that you hit the next milestone of, 10 clients. Then you're super excited that you hit your next milestone of 50 clients. And then at that point, you look at it and then you can kind of stop at that moment and say, okay, I'm at client 50 right now, right? And you're like, this is so awesome, you guys. Like celebrate with your friends, celebrate with your family, celebrate with staff if you have staff at that point. And celebrate where you're at to continue to use that momentum and the positivity to propel you to the next level. Or you can easily get caught in the like, well, I have 50 clients, but I don't have like 100, right? So instead of, looking forward and saying, well, what's the next step? What's the next step? It's like, of course, look at what's the next step, but also like, where have you come? You started from a business of 0. You went from 0 to 50. That's like a pretty huge jump, right? So using that as something that can continue to move you forward. So I compare it to almost like a trampoline, right? So when you're on a trampoline, you're jumping. The larger the section or the area of the trampoline gets, the higher you can jump, right? So if you have a small trampoline, you get like an individual personalized size one, you can jump on it. But you can't jump very high, but you're jumping nonetheless, right? So that I equate that small trampoline to small wins. So you celebrated a win, woohoo, you're jumping down your trampoline, you're like super hyped, then you're ready to move on to kind of your next level or the next step in whatever it is that you're doing, your fitness goal, your business, the next step in your career. So then you move on to the next step and the area of your trampoline gets a little bit bigger because you're getting closer to your ultimate goal of whatever it is that you want. So every time you jump on that trampoline to celebrate, you use that to take you to the next level. Rather than, imagine doing nothing, right? Like I would have done nothing after my first half marathon and all I did was like dwell on the fact that it wasn't enough. It wasn't a full marathon. It wasn't a this. And then I probably wouldn't have run another race, right? I'm at the point now where my running career got me now to doing tri sprints, right? So tri sprint runs, completely different, but it's something that like slowly these different milestones in my fitness journey have taken me kind of to the next step. It's important to note that there will always be somebody that's better than you. Always. Like we have to accept the fact that there will always be somebody better than you. There will always be somebody who's going to be placing first place in the half marathon. There will always be somebody that's going to be running an Ironman and be the world champion of the Ironmans in the triathlon world. But that's not me. And I don't want to be that person, right? Like I don't want to, that's just like not in my goals. And as long as I am being the absolute best that I can be every single time, I should be celebrating that and using that as a trampoline to propel me to the next step of whatever it is that I want to do. This kind of is tied to also just all of the areas in your life. Training for a half marathon taught me so many things about my mindset, about my strength, about my discipline, about my physical ability, about positivity, about building a community, about just so many limits that I impose upon myself. But if I really put my mind to it, I can break past them. And that's really something that, exercise taught me. And those are just some simple skills that now are not so simple actually, like after the realization, but those are skills that I learned in one area of my life and I'm able to apply to so many other areas. So rather than just like diminishing, what it is that we've accomplished or saying like, oh, it wasn't enough, or it wasn't first place, oh, it wasn't that challenging, freaking celebrate. Like, you deserve it. Not only do you deserve it because you worked so hard for it, but you deserve it because it's going to take you to the next level in your life. So today, I strongly encourage you guys to celebrate your wins. They could be small wins, they can be huge wins. Maybe you place first place in your race. Maybe your company is now the leading company in your industry. Whatever it is that you are currently going through, remember that celebration is such a huge and important thing in life. And if you're not celebrating, if you're not having fun, then what's the point of doing it, right? So make sure that you celebrate your wins along the way. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and I will be seeing you next week.